Okay, I'm going to give my first layout update here. So this is where I'm at right now. I've got a shelf layout built, and this is going to be a car barge, car float, and then I'm going to have some industry in the background here, possibly log unloading on the end here, and then some warehousing. And I think this is going to be kind of the historic area, so I'll probably end up putting some older industry down here, like well, that flour mill and that brewery are probably going to get cut in half and put against the wall in some shape or form, and there'll be some tracks coming into that, but I'm going to keep it fairly light on this part of the shelf layout. So I've got my run in here, and that's going to feed the car float, as well as those industries I just talked about. And I've still got some openings here. So one switch comes off here, and I got another long lead coming off of here. And a couple thoughts here are to do aggregates, so concrete mixing plants. So bringing in sand and gravel and cement, and then possibly even having like a manufacturing of culverts, concrete culverts and that kind of stuff, so you can have a mix of cars coming in and the cars coming out, flatbeds and bulkheads and gondolas, and get your covered hoppers coming in and your open hoppers full of sand and gravel. So that's one idea there. And then we're getting into the place where I've got my my scissor Y, and the scissor Y is basically allowing me to turn my engines instead of having a turntable, and also I can turn trains as well, up to about 8 feet long. Actually, I can take a whole 8-foot train and turn it around. That is once I get my return loop built. So in the corner there you've got a tunnel, and that's going to do one loop around in the other room, and I still got to poke a hole in the drywall here about 3.5 inches higher than that, and that's my that's basically my return loop. So I'll have to wire that up with an AR1 as well, just so I don't short out my engines, short out my my controller. And yeah, so that's basically my scissor Y in the corner here, and that's the bridge, the Central Valley Bridge. It was 150 foot. I turned it into 175 by adding another section to it. I was lucky enough to have 2 kits, so one's gonna be 125 feet and that one's 175 feet. Not sure I'm gonna leave it there because you actually don't get to see very much of it just looking side on. It's much nicer to look down. So if you can look down on it, there's a lot more detail to see. So I may actually swap that out with a couple girder bridges, maybe actually 3 of them, I think. One over each track and one over the creek in between. This is going to be a creek. So we'll see what I do there. And so these are my 2 main lines actually. So this is one main, and up here is another main. So anything off of here, this is my scratch built double crossover. Basically it's 2 long radius ones on the main line and 2 medium radius switches on the yard lead, and a 19-degree crossover in the middle. And I got my scissor with a 30, sorry about the shadow guys, 30-degree crossing there, just to make my scissor Y. So I'm actually getting ahead of my train here. Maybe I should pick up the speed on this thing. Just a bit about the layout itself. We just finished building this house, so I basically got a whole bunch of stuff left over from my electrician, and so I'm using household wire. You can see the black and the white there. That's my bus, and that runs all the way under all the tables. I just cut holes through my supports, and I've dropped my feeder wire down there. Feeder wire I think is 24 gauge. The method I use is to solder my fish plates on the bottom, and I drop it through a hole that I drilled on each rail, and then they come down and they actually get soldered to the bus. It's a bit of a pain because the the bus wire is such a heavy gauge that you actually have to sit there and put quite a lot of solder on because the heat basically dissipates through the wire. So I wouldn't recommend using, well, it's fantastic for spreading electricity, the household bus, but it's not too much of a problem. So actually I'll leave it at that. It's been pretty good to me. And I made my own brackets actually out of plywood, so double 3/4 ply, and then I actually cut, I've got a lot of metal kicking around the yard here, so I actually cut reinforcing just for more support. So those are all L brackets, cut and drilled. Where's my train now? Okay, so my train is just now coming into the yard. I think I'm going to pick up the pace on that thing. What I'm looking at, what you're looking at here, is option 1 of my engine shop diesel facility. So I like a couple things I like about this. It's off to the one end of the yard. It's got lots of space, so I can put I want to build the Stewart Yard double stall engine shop, and that's not the sanding tower that they have, and it's all been removed now. It's all destroyed. So I want to bring that back, and it's a 3-track thing there. So 1's for the sanding tower, and then 2 go into the shop. I like the space there, and it does dead end leading into the creek here. And then this is the beginning of my yard here. I'll quickly just say this is option 2 for the engine shop. This is only a 2-tracker because I don't have much space between the 2 main lines. My 2 mains are against the wall, and the next one down leading up, and they connect up there into a single main. Yeah, so this is the other option for my engine facility. I don't know which one I'll go with yet. This one actually allows me to connect back in with the other side of the yard, so that's kind of cool. So it can be a through facility. And now my train is actually coming up to the west part of my yard. So it's what do we got here? We've got 3 storage tracks, which are fairly full right now. I've been on the buying spree. And the 3 storage tracks would be in the middle there, and this one is supposed to be the arrival departures, but it's totally jammed with cars. And then I'm just trying to protect this front one here from trains falling off the edge, because it is right on the edge, absolutely over the edge. So I'm going to fill in this gap. I've got the clamps holding things up for temporarily. So yeah, I've got long leads on both sides of this yard, which is fantastic. So I can move large cuts of cars. I'll just go over what I'm using right now. So I ended up using DCC++. So I've got a 16. I've got my power supply at 16 volts coming into the motor shield. I did not cut the trace on the motor shield. Instead, I bent the pins out, which I guess is much better than actually altering the board. So I am not transferring power to the Arduino. I bought a Mega in case I want to run some servos, which I kind of do. Haven't got there yet, but and I'm still running a 5-volt supply from the laptop. I haven't detached from the laptop because I haven't got Wi-Fi yet on this board. Once I do that, it'll be much nicer. I can run the trains through my phone, and I don't have to keep coming back to the laptop to change direction and speed. So that'll be good. This is my totally dodgy programming track, which I actually just store under here. Totally temporary, but we'll get there. And this is my system here. So I'm just running on my wife's old laptop that is very, very, very slow. Let's see if I can pick up the pace here a bit. There we go. This video is actually turning out to be quite long. So some thoughts I had about having a bridge go over the yard. I like the idea. Just breaks things up a bit because it is kind of, I think it's 22 feet long. Other things I want to tell you about as the train comes down. I'll just get up here. In my initial design, I actually had a straight yard, and as you can see, this one actually swings left, swings right, and swings left again. And the reason for that is to allow me 3 areas that I could further develop. So I got my area at the end for an engine shop, and I got an area in the middle that's kind of long and skinny, and I've also got this fatter area in front of the harbor. So I don't know what to put there yet, but it's got to be low because I don't want to be banging things when I reach across the tracks. But yeah, I laid that track 3 times and finally settled on that, just giving me 3 areas to have some industry and other things, maybe even some scenery, because there's a nice gap there. So this is my canal area. So I've got the canal coming through. I've got 2 bridges here. One is this is my bobtail swing bridge, and this feeds the yard, comes off the main and feeds the yard. And then this is my main track back here. When I finally get the bridge done, that'll be the main. So I've got a minor little harbor here. Not very big, but big enough to give the impression of things. Here I'm thinking about warehousing, possibly something low and something not too breakable. Warehousing, I even thought about unloading lumber, or even having like steel drop off, like coils and I-beams and that kind of thing. So here's the train going over the bridge. So that's pretty cool. The bridge is manual. It does rotate. I'm not finished. I haven't done any decoration. That's just a gray primer on it. I've got a lot of detailing to do on that thing still. And then coming over here, my train is heading towards my double slip. So this double slip allows the engines to come from the yard, cross over the main, and get into this kind of area here on this side. This is going to be, I've actually cut the table there in the corner there. That is going to be the back end of a container ship. Just I guess the last 50 feet of a container ship, the stern. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to build the face of it and plaster it against the wall. So it's going to be pretty tall, be a nice tall feature. It's only going to be about maybe 2 inches wide. So I'm not going to get much of it, but it is going to be the impression. And of course I'm going to have a couple tracks coming in for well cars and shipping containers. And originally I had my refinery kind of petroleum area here, but I think it's kind of too small, so I don't know what I'm going to put here. It's not a very big area. And my train is actually coming to the end of what I've got so far. It's going to run into that push pin over there. And I do have this big area here that I haven't left a switch actually for. So I may actually just cut the table narrower and leave it at that. I don't know. So let me just stop the train. So yeah, that's my layout so far. I'm running DCC++, as I said. I really enjoy it. It's fantastic. Just getting the new engines and being able to program them on the computer is a real treat, I think. I don't know. I've never had like a NC power cab or anything like that, but I kind of think the computer is the way to go. Anyway, that's where I'm at, and I'll send another update when I do some more work on it. I don't get much time to do anything down here, so progress is slow. Not painfully, but I'm getting there. Anyway, drop me a line, let me know what you think. Anyway, hope you enjoyed the video, my long ramble. Bye.